Chariots of Fire here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The 2010 Winter Olympics have wrapped up in Vancouver, Canada. The Olympic flame has been doused and a return to normalcy has begun for a city thrust onto the world stage. Well, Democracy Now! Producer Aaron Maté traveled to Vancouver to look at an issue lost in the two-week spectacle: the struggles of a low-income community in the Olympic shadow. He filed this report.
For 2 weeks, Olympic fever gripped Vancouver's downtown core. Thousands of people flooded the streets, the logos of corporate sponsors on display at nearly every turn. At the Olympic Superstore, shoppers lined up for several blocks just to buy official merchandise.
There's tons of people from all over the world with different languages, and they're coming here because this is the official Olympic Superstore. So everything in here is official with the Olympic. It has the little rings and all that kind of stuff. We have about 32 different licensees in here, so we have a wide assortment of products, from a 59-cent postcard to a $7,500 canoe.
The Vancouver Olympics saw a mass display of civic and national pride. But they've also intensified a struggle over what kind of a city is left behind. For many people, the front lines of that struggle are in a neighborhood called the downtown Eastside.
2010 homes, not 2010 kids! Homes, not kids! Homes, not kids!
It's just a short walk from the Olympic festivities, but the downtown Eastside can feel worlds apart. An area of 15 square blocks, it's the poorest postal code in Canada. It has the highest HIV infection rate in North America, an outgrowth of rampant drug use and prostitution. But for decades, right through the Olympics, it's also been a community of resistance.
What we have in the downtown Eastside is the most impacted and one of the most devastated communities as a result of the 2010 Olympic Games. People are being pushed out, people are being shoved around, people are being thrown into jails, and yet we're standing here because this community always fights back and always resists with courage and with love. Thank you everyone for being here.
The Winter Olympics cost around $6 billion, nearly $1 billion on security alone. That's seen as an affront in the downtown Eastside, where residents have fought to preserve the social services that can mean life or death for many vulnerable people. Libby Davies is a member of the Canadian Parliament.
In many cities across North America, inner cities have either been demolished, gentrified, wiped out, or people just left in misery. In this neighborhood, there's been a struggle for more than 30 years to fight back and to say this is our community. We have a right to be here. We have a right to live in dignity, in good housing, with parks, with a community center. And so this struggle goes on.
I think what the effects of the Olympics that has on us is that it takes all the monies away from the poor people and it puts it all towards the Olympic venues, the games, the building, the construction. They forgot about us.
The Vancouver Olympics were initially billed as the world's first socially sustainable games. But one key legacy is a squeeze on low-income housing. Harsha Walia is an organizer with the Downtown Eastside Women's Center and the Olympic Resistance Network.
The Olympics has spurred on real estate speculation and construction in Vancouver in general, and the Downtown Eastside has kind of been the last bastion for condo developers. And since the Olympic bid, we've seen approximately 1,800 units of market housing and condominiums being built in the Downtown Eastside, while we've lost approximately 1,300 units of low-income housing.
The real estate boom has coincided with a contentious record on social housing. Low-income homes have been built, but not enough to meet demand. David Cadman is a Vancouver City Councillor.
The major issue that we wanted to solve with these Olympics, we had a social inclusivity agreement with the national and provincial governments, and our hope was that we would begin to deal with the homelessness crisis in this city.
The social inclusivity agreement spoke of creating a housing legacy and protecting low-income residents from evictions. Johal is chair of the Impact on Communities Coalition, which tried to work with Olympic organizers.
Literally years after the bid began, civil society organizations were sidelined. Reports that were written, like the Housing Table, which recommended 3,200 units of housing over 4 years, these reports were essentially shelved. So the commitments that were made ended up being more in the realm of marketing and public relations than a document that was substantive or something that could actually be, that we could hold governments to account.
The Olympic Athletes Village was to be the centerpiece of the game's social housing legacy. 250 units are designated for social housing after the athletes leave town. But the village has been a financial disaster, After the global economic crisis, private financing collapsed, forcing the city to put up around $1 billion to finish construction. With that kind of price tag, the social housing units could be sold off.
And this was happening exactly at the same time as Olympic infrastructure was being built, like speed skating ovals and loose tracks. In the case of security, we have $900 million being spent over, literally over a 2-month period. And so these one-time costs, it's very difficult not to compare them to the lack of social investment that's going on.
The focus on private development over social housing is felt all over the city. Just 2 months before the Olympic Games, developers began bulldozing one of the oldest social housing projects in Canada. Built in the mid-1950s, the Little Mountain housing complex was home to over 700 people.
224 units of perfectly good social housing were torn down. It would have taken as little as $10,000 per unit to fix them up. 15 acres of public land was sold off to the highest corporate bidder.
That's Vancouver City Council member Ellen Woodsworth. She took us to the ruins of Little Mountain on her 6th day of a 7-day hunger strike for a national housing program in Canada. Woodsworth tried to prevent the demolition and now fights to ensure the social housing units are replaced. But there are no guarantees.
This is really just so terrible that you would take people out of perfectly good housing and destroy a site and just leave it vacant. This could be empty for 10 years. This developer has no experience with building housing. It's just such a tragedy when this whole country, if you got, thousands of people homeless in Vancouver and you got 200,000 people homeless across the country and 12 people in BC have died from homelessness each year. It's outrageous that they would have done this.
One building prevented the demolition of their homes, but developers vow to force them out. Back in the downtown Eastside, residents are also standing up. On day 4 of the Olympics, hundreds of people took over a vacant lot owned by a major condo developer, erecting Tent Village.
It's to stand for the government to see that our people need homes. We need them now. And we're desperate for these people because we have too many people getting sick and dying, sleeping out in the cold.
This is part of my family down here, and I don't give a care if I get arrested or not. I am a warrior because I am handicapped. I am sick and tired what the police are doing to the Aboriginal people. They're beaten up with sticks, and they've been dragged by their hair. I'm one of them that's got the same thing as the brothers and sisters out there. To me, it's rough to live down here because people drive, people walk by, and they look at us like we're garbage.
They want us to get out of here, but like we said, we're going to stay here until we win.
So what are you painting here?
I'm painting housing is a human right.
And you're staying here in the tent city?
Yes, I am.
And why are you here? Why are you taking part in this?
Why am I taking part? Because I believe that people have a right to have a house. People have a right to have somewhere to be called their own.
And how long do you plan to stay?
I plan on staying here as long as necessary.
I am homeless also myself. I have no place to stay. So I come here to support the tent city. Maybe we can bring attention to the world. What is happening to one of the richest country in the world. And us Native people and all other people who are homeless, we are forced to live in the streets.
Down the street from Tent Village, a large crowd is gathered for the Women's Memorial March. It's held every year to honor the over 3,000 missing and murdered women in Canada since the 1970s, one of many issues disproportionately affecting the country's Indigenous population. Today, over 30 women are reported missing from the downtown Eastside.
I'm here to remember my daughter. Her remains were found 4 years after she went missing.
My late sister was 26 years old when she was reported missing.
My daughter, Jessie Foster, went missing March 29, 2006.
My niece, Tamara Lynn Chipman, went missing out of Prince Rupert September 21st, 2005.
A local farmer, Robert Picton, has been convicted of killing 6 women and is accused in the deaths of at least 20 others. Organizers want a public inquiry into how police respond to reports of missing women and whether any deaths could have been avoided.
As soon as maybe someone that is from a richer family, as soon as they go missing, a lady goes missing, they have investigations,
but Our Ladies don't get investigated.
The police are extremely unresponsive. The entire justice system is unresponsive to missing and murdered Aboriginal women, not just in BC, but all across the country.
We deserve to be respected. We deserve to be treated like human beings.
This is the march's 19th year. This year, city officials approached organizers about canceling it during Olympic festivities. But the March Committee held its ground, and the largest ever crowd turned out. The Olympic Committee wanted this march to be delayed.
They did, yes. You know, we're here to stand up for the missing and murdered Aboriginal women, and they're not going to stop us. They can try, which they did. The police came and met with our organizing committee, but we're not willing to hold back the march.
This is absolutely